Hello guys, I'm really excited I get to bring the POC-A-Thon TBR. So I'm one of the hosts along with Kevin from Glyph, Justin from Ghost Reader, and Rashmika likes books. And I'm really excited because this is one of my favorite things all year, and it is a readathon that is focused on bringing diversity as well as attention to the voices and experiences of people of color from all around the world. And it is going to be from August 19th until 31st, and this is my TBR. Hopefully I'll have recommendations by the 19th out, but we're hoping on that. That is the hope here. Anyways, check out the other channels as well, and there will be details and all of that below. Anyways, this is my TBR. The first one is the requirements is that you read a book that is both by and also featuring characters and people of color. And the first prompt is the MC that represents 3 different races. This does not have to be just in one book. It can be throughout every single book, and there will be multiple different kinds of people from different places and cultures here. I am normally a very rapid reader, so I'm going to read probably more than a few books. You can read one book and totally count this as being part of it. It isn't required that you complete these challenges. They're more prompts in order to help you read more widely and diversely. But I am just going to name them books that I hope to read for this prompt. So the first one is Exit West. This will be a reread. I read it last year. It is by Mohsin Hamid, and he is a Pakistani man who writes phenomenal books. And I would just recommend picking up any of him. I read this and The Reluctant Fundamentalist as well. This one looks at, it doesn't name a country, but it looks at the refugee crisis and magical realism. And I love the writing style and how it gives attention to how everyone's story plays out. And it just goes on this tangent, so whenever you meet a character that isn't going to be there until the end, which is mainly not the main couple, you kind of find out how their story ends, which I really appreciate as a person who loves closure in books. And it's often marketed as a romance. This is not true. It is very just a strong story about what it means like to be a person in a war-torn country, and then also to be a person who is a refugee and coming to the US and all of that experience. And it is so good. It is a book that I thought, I knew I liked at first, but I didn't love, and then the more it has sat in my brain and marinated there, I've loved it more and more and more, and I cannot wait to pick it up again. So highly recommend that. The second book I'm going to be reading is All You Could Ever Know. This is by Nicole Chun, and she is a Korean girl who was adopted into a white American family, and it's her experiences of what that experience was like. This is a very personal book for me, not because I myself was adopted, but because one of my best friends was adopted from China, and I know her experience quite intimately from being very close to her and finding her identity, and I think this is such an important story to be told. It's a memoir, and I'm really excited to pick it up. And the third culture I'm going to be reading from is The Journey of Crazy Horse, and this is by Joseph Marshall, who is a Lakotan man, and he tells the story of Crazy Horse and a history through that. I am really excited about this because I actually saw Crazy Horse in South Dakota, I believe, and it was so amazing. I've looked at pictures before I wrote this because I saw it when I was probably 6 or 7, and I just remember being so amazed. I also saw the Rushmore Mountains at the same time, and I was more impressed by this than the Rushmore Mountains. And I just thought it has always struck with me as such a powerful image, and I can't wait, especially if it is told by the people group who is behind the man who got Amanda Bins. So I'm really excited to hear that. The second prompt is to read an intersectional book that features a person of color and is written by a person of color who hopefully shares the intersectionality. That's not required, but it makes it more authenticity, and we're all about that. So I'm going to be reading Another Country by James Baldwin, and this is a classic book set in the 1960s, and he is a black gay man in the US, and I know that it talks a lot about different experiences and marginalized people in here and how different things were not as they seem. I don't know that much about it. I'm really excited to learn more about it when I read it. And then we have a translated book. For this one, I'm going to be picking up The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, and this is a Brazilian man who is very well acclaimed. I know that this book is very whimsical, so I'm not going to really describe it. I have read the very beginning of it, and it did interest me. It is more very an old legend kind of storytelling, and I don't think it has that much of a plot, more magical realism, but I'm excited to pick it up and see how I like it. And it was originally written in Portuguese, I believe. And then we have a nonfiction book. For this one, I'm going to be reading a few nonfiction, but this one is Barracoon by Zora Neale Hurston, And this tells a story about, she did it, I forget which era, in the 21st century, she interviewed a man who was the last living member of people who were trafficked into slavery after the slave trade was officially illegal in the US, and she tells the story from a man's first-hand experience, and I'm very interested to tell this part of history that is not talked about at all, so I think that that will be really interesting. And she herself is a very well-acclaimed Black woman who tells beautiful stories, and her books are very well acclaimed. I've not read any fiction, but that is on the long list as well. And then we have an author from a different continent from you, and for this one I do have several others that are from different continents as well, but I am going to be reading You're Not a Country, Africa. Pius Adesemi is an immigrant to Canada who has spent the last, I don't know how many years since he was post-university here, but he was originally from Nigeria, and this is a lot about both Africa in the beginning, and then also about the immigration process and what it's like to be in a different country and see racism and stuff like that. I read the first half of it last year during the POC-Thon, and it was one of my favorite. I have had full paragraphs after each sentence and very, very heavily annotated, and it's so good. I will probably read other books that will fall into this as well and count them, but I definitely want to talk about this book, and I highly, highly recommend it, and it's so good. And then last and not least, oh no, second last, not least, and we have a nonfiction or a poetry collection. So this is going to be The Captain's Verses by Pablo Neruda, and he is a Chilean poet and political leader who wrote poetry, and this is some of it, so I'm excited to see what he has to offer, and I think this is actually translated as well. I'm not quite sure. I can look into that. And then we have a graphic novel that also features both a writer of color as well as the colorist or the whole creative team behind it. That was something that was really pointed to Justin. And I do have Death Note that I am hoping to read. This is a manga, so of course it has a Japanese writer and reader and illustrator and stuff. And I'm also thinking of picking up Miss Marvel. Although G. Willow Wilson is a Muslim, she's not actually Middle Eastern or black or anything. She's actually white. And that, I think, is often misconstrued because, you know, people see a hijab and they're like, oh, clearly this person is a person of color. She's actually white. She's a convert. Anyways, but the people who are the creative team behind it, the person who created it, all are. The one who wrote Volume 2, which is one of the people is white, and one of them is a person of color, and that would be Adrian Alphona. So it is not the full team, but it also features a very strong person of color as the lead, as Camilla Khan, and she's so great. I really, really like her as a character, and I really like the discussion around race and representation and culture and all of that in the books, and I do know that it comes from a very authentic place. And that is my TBR for this. It might change. It will probably have things added. I might not read all of it. I also forgot I'm going to be reading On Fire by High. On Fire? By Fire? I don't know anymore. Wow. Anyways, happy reading and writing. I hope that you really enjoy the books you're reading. I really hope that you come and join us and participate. You can find me on social media, and don't forget to check out my fellow hosts. They are incredible booktubers and just people in general, and I hope that you have a fantastic time reading, and farewell for now. P.S. If you are participating in the POC-A-Thon, I know the title of the thing that I named, and you want money and books, because who doesn't, I am hosting a giveaway, and it is for 20 Canadian dollars for any book of your choosing, and internationally, of course, and all you have to do to join in and have a chance to win is to do either a TBR or a recommendations video. So even if it is posted during the POC-Thon, that's fine, it's 2 weeks long. We have lots of time for those videos, so I will hopefully see those soon, and link them below because I can't find them otherwise. The YouTube algorithm is hard to search, and they are lost. They are lost for good.